No, please. Sit.
There are characters you're supposed to root for, characters you're supposed to hate, and there's Theodore Bagwell, Tbag. A man so dangerous, so unpredictable that even criminals around him wanted him dead. I mean, think about that for a second. No guards, not the FBI, not just the police, but the murderers, the gang leaders, the people already serving life sentences. Even they looked at Tbag and thought, this guy is a problem. So here's the question. How did this man become one of the longest surviving characters in the entire series? Because if we're being honest, Tbag should have died in season 1. Actually, he should have died several times before season 1 even ended. Yet somehow, every escape, betrayal, riots, and manhunt, every impossible situation, Tbag always found another day. And yes, every television show has characters the writers don't want to lose. But after rewatching Prisonbreak, I realized something. Tbag wasn't just surviving because the writers needed him. He kept surviving because he understood one simple rule that almost nobody else in the show ever truly accepted. And once you notice that rule, his entire story starts making sense. Fox River wasn't just a prison, it was an ecosystem. Every inmate had a place, every table belonged to someone, every hallway had invisible rules. If you respected those rules, you survived. If you didn't, you paid for it. It was that simple. Michael understood the system. Abruzzi controlled part of it. Bellick enforced it. Even Sino knew exactly where he stood. But Tbag, he never truly belonged anywhere. And that's exactly what made him so dangerous.
You're the new one I've been hearing all the rave reviews about. Scofield. One thing's for sure, you're just as pretty as advertised.
One thing I noticed while rewatching the series is almost every important character has something they rely on. Michael relies on planning, Lincoln relies on his strengths, Abruzzi relies on fear, Bellick relies on authority, and Mahone relies on intelligence. Take those things away and they begin to fall apart. But what happens if you take everything away from Tbag? Absolutely nothing. Because he never depended on any of those things in the first place. That's why he could lose almost everything and still find another way forward. Watching him closely, not when he's talking, not when he's watching, before he speaks, he's studying people. Who's nervous, who's angry, who's distracted, desperate. He isn't looking for a fight, he's simply looking for an opening. And that's a completely different mindset to have. Most inmates try to control situations, while Tbag simply waited for situations to change. And when they did, he moved faster than everybody else. Now that pattern repeats throughout the entire show. Every single season, every major conflict, every escape, it's never about strength, it's always about timing. And once you realize that, you start to see Theodore differently.
That's for you. Move your fat ass.
I mean, take Michael for example. Michael's biggest weapon is preparation. He spends months designing an escape, memorizing blueprints and calculating every possibility. Everything has a purpose, everything follows a plan. It's brilliant, but it's also incredibly fragile. Because the moment something unexpected happens, Michael has to stop and solve it. And we've seen this happen again and again and again. But as for Tbag, he doesn't. Unexpected situations are where he thrives. Chaos isn't the problem for him, chaos is his home. And that's why the Fox River riot tells us so much about his character. Everyone else is overwhelmed, people are fighting, running, taking revenge, guards are losing their shit. Inmates are settling old scores, but the prison becomes exactly what nobody wanted it to become. Complete chaos. And somehow, that one man who should be the least comfortable looks completely at home. I mean, it's easy to miss on your first watch because the riot is so intense. There's so much happening, but watch Tbag. He's not reacting emotionally, he's calculating. Every decision has one purpose. Survive the next minute, then survive the minute after that. He isn't trying to win, he's trying to outlast. There's a difference, a massive difference. I mean, if you're comparing that to somebody like Abruzzi is one of the most feared men in Fox River. People respect him, people fear him, people follow him. But that power comes with a weakness. Everyone knows who Abruzzi is. He's predictable. If you cross him, he comes for you. If you betray him, he retaliates. You always know what to come next. Tbag doesn't give you that luxury. One moment Tbag is smiling, the next he's threatening someone. A few minutes later he's begging for mercy. Then suddenly he's making jokes again. It's exhausting to keep up with, and that's exactly the point. Nobody can prepare for someone who refuses to stay the same. There's another thing that really stood out to me, and that's pride. Almost every major character in Prisonbreak has too much of it. Abruzzi refuses to back down, Bellick refuses to admit defeat, Mahone refuses to lose, even Michael sometimes refuses to compromise his principles. Tbag, he has no interest in pride. If pretending to surrender keeps him alive, he'll surrender. If crawling across the floor keeps him breathing, he will crawl. If smiling at someone he secretly hates buys him another chance, he will smile. To Tbag, humiliation is temporary, death is not.
You gotta learn the art of negotiating. Lesson 1, bargaining position.
That mindset changes everything. Because now the people haunting him start making mistakes. They assume he will react the way they would. They assume he will defend his reputation. They assume he will choose revenge. But he rarely does. He chooses survival again and again and again. And that's why I think the plot armor is not enough to explain his story. Because the writers consistently show us how he survives. Sometimes it's by manipulation, other times it's fear, sometimes it's just pure instincts. And sometimes it's simply recognizing an opportunity that everyone else missed. I feel like Tbag's IQ is heavily underrated. And the first person to learn that lesson the hard way was John Abruzzi. Now on paper, this shouldn't even be a contest. Abruzzi has influence, money, connections, loyal soldiers. I mean, if you compare that to Tbag, well, Tbag, if you asked anyone watching season 1, would tell you he would not survive that conflict. Almost everyone would have picked Abruzzi, and yet things didn't play out the way anybody expected. Because Abruzzi was fighting to make an example, Tbag was fighting to stay alive. Those are two completely different motivations.
Hey John, you know actually about Jesus? Say hi to him for me, will you?
I mean, think about how dangerous revenge can be. Revenge narrows your focus, it convinces you there's an object, destroys your personal standings in front of you. While survival is different. Survival forces you to notice everything. Every exit, every weakness, hesitation, and every mistake. That's exactly what Tbag does. He's constantly watching, adapting, and eventually his patience pays off. Fox River finally falls behind them, the walls disappear, and the gates open. Freedom, or at least that's what everybody believed. Because escaping prison wasn't the end of the nightmare, it was just the beginning of an entirely different one.
Get away, Gracie. Get away. Get back. Whoa. Get those guys from Fox River.
Knew where your enemies were. Outside, they could be anywhere. The FBI, local police, former inmates, former allies, and complete strangers. The entire country suddenly became a battlefield. Most escaped prisoners would have struggled to survive a week. Tbag somehow kept going. And this is where the story becomes almost unbelievable. Because surviving inside prison is one thing, surviving with your face on every television screen in America is something entirely different. Most fugitives make one fatal mistake. They become too comfortable. They trust someone they shouldn't, they stay in one place for too long, or they convince themselves the danger has passed. Tbag never believed the danger was over. He lived like someone who expected tomorrow to be worse than today. And in many ways, it usually was.
And you're gonna find it how? What, you got a divining rod tattooed on your ass?
But after everything Tbag went through, I don't think he survived because he was the strongest. He was not. He didn't survive because he was the smartest either. Michael was smarter, Mahomes was smarter. He survived because he was willing to become whoever he needed to be to survive. While everyone else stayed the same, Michael was always the planner, Abruzzi was always the boss, Bellick was always the guard, but Tbag, he never tied himself to one identity. He adapted faster than anyone else, and in a world where every mistake could get you killed, adaptability beats strength almost every single time. Love him, hate him, fear him, one thing is impossible to deny. Theodore Bagwell was one of the greatest survivors television has ever created.